that fear right there is what is holding you back. The fear of it's not the right time because I'm not perfect yet. Not only in this area, but also in the area of his business, the area of his relationships. It's this idea that it's not the perfect time because I'm not perfect yet, but then I'll do it when I'm perfect.
Do you know what I love to do in that situation? I love to run towards the fear.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. Here I am, your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, the most, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, how you doing?
I like that name, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Oh. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Absolutely fantastic as well. Well, Tim, I know we have a lot that we always want to talk about on this, and we talk a lot about things before we get on to hit the record button and talk about them afterwards. But one of the questions that came up yesterday from a guy that I was talking to, let me frame this for everybody listening. This is kind of one of your, from the outside, a typical alpha male, big, strong, very powerful presence. A lot of people listening to this would probably know who this person is. So obviously I won't give too many identifying clues, but somebody that a lot of, men would look up to. He's got the lifestyle from the outside that a lot of us, would aspire to if you're looking at traditional media. So when I was talking to him about what was going on with his life and asking how things were going for him, his answer wasn't fantastic, right? Because things aren't going fantastic for him. And in the conversation, we talked about growth, like what it takes to truly grow as a man and how to really step outside your comfort zones and what that looks like. And what it ended up coming down to, once we broke through all the BS, is he told me he was too fragile to grow. In other words, he said, Doug, look, I just think right now I'm too fragile. Like I don't want to go to an event or take a course or work with a coach or read a book or whatever it is. I'm just too fragile for growth. What would you say to somebody like that?
What I say? Yes. Yes, you're too fragile for growth. I mean, the thing that comes to my mind, if that was the response, it sounds to me like in that instance, he's just too scared to face the reality of what he has created in his life or what he hasn't created in his life. One of the things we talk a lot about in the activation method, as you know, Doug, is taking radical responsibility for your results. And for as long as you want to keep your results outside of you, you want to lie to yourself and not take ownership and let your positivity mask your reality, then you keep everything at arm's length and you're giving your power away. However, when you're able to drop the label and remove, whether things are good or bad and just take them as feedback, then you are able to put the ball back in your court and then choose something different, Whereas what I'm hearing you say, and it's so funny because yesterday as well, I had a similar conversation with a business owner. Maybe we'll get on to that in a moment. But yeah, it's, as long as, you want to keep those results at arm's length and say that you're too fragile, you're going to remain fragile, aren't you? So it's, what was your response out of interest? What did you say?
What I told him, and then to give more frame of reference, I wasn't going to bring it up, but this was in a direct question in relation to him taking the activation method and jumping into the inner circle with some of our high performing guys. And so what I read into it right away, knowing this person, is he's a high performance business owner. And what he was really scared about, what he was really saying, and I repeated this back to him, is I don't want anybody else to see me melt, right? I don't want anybody else to see that I'm not perfect. And it's this mask that we all wear. Not all of us, right? A lot of us now walk around like yourself and myself, taking that mask off as much as possible, but concerned about what other people think. So what I told him is exactly what I told him. I said, look, I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you're worried that, in this fragile state that you're not performing at 100%. And that's what you like to be. That's what you like to put out in the world. That's like where you like to go. But this is the perfect time for you to jump in. This is the perfect time for you to rebuild yourself, shed your skin, shed your mask, and really step into your power, your true power. Because that is really, to me, what's powerful. when you're scared of being vulnerable, when you're scared of showing people that you're not perfect. And guess what? None of us are perfect, right? I said that fear right there is what is holding you back. And I've been working with him for a little while. And so I know this for a fact, that fear of what other people think of him, the fear of it's not the right time because I'm not perfect yet, is exactly what's holding him back, not only in this area, but also in the area of his business, the area of his relationships, the area of his just general wellness. It's this idea that it's not the perfect time because I'm not perfect yet, but then I'll do it when I'm perfect.
Do you know what I love to do in that situation? I love to run towards the fear.
Yep.
And, I don't do this all the time, but an example of this was this week with Amelia. So, you and I set some targets, for the Powerful Man for this month, didn't we? And it got to the final 10 days of the month. And we were like, right, let's adjust and let's stretch and let's go again. And I was like, right, bring it. And, you're like me. We love challenges, whether it's fitness, whether it, whatever, we rise to the challenge. But the pattern that I have been able to come to realize, and it's the one that it's kind of like my default mode, and it's hustle. My default mode is to go and hustle like mad because 1, I love what I do. 2, I love the challenge. 3, I just, I just find it fun. But before, I never used to have any balance. So it used to come at the cost of everything. And also the energy behind the hustle used to be me trying to prove myself. So anyway, as you and I then go and reset and go and stretch things, and I'm like, yeah, bring it, awesome, all in. I then found myself over a period of about 5, 6, 7 days, really going back into that pattern. And also going back into some of those stories as well, wanting to prove and not feel like a failure. And some of it to some degree, we had some projects we were finishing too within the company, didn't we? And, they were coming to completion. So there was some of that as well. But what started to happen was I started to become really disconnected from Amelia, from my girlfriend. And just being totally honest and real here and transparent, I've actually not spoken to anyone about this, and I can't believe I'm doing it for the first time in this format. I then started to have dreams about other women. And I was like, what's going on? Why am I having these dreams? And I'd wake up and I'd feel a little bit confused, a little bit even more distant. And for the first time ever, I started to question my relationship with her. Not yet have I ever questioned my relationship with her. We've got an amazing bond and we've had such a great relationship, and it's been a phenomenal few years. And yeah, I found myself in the same thought pattern that I've been in all my relationships. And I was like, this time I was able to just, stop and see it and dive into it and ask myself some questions. And I was like, what's really going on here? What's really beneath this? And, I felt stressed. I wasn't sleeping as well. One of the telltale signs for me is that I go to bed later with my mind still racing. I wake up and I'm thinking about work straight away. I don't necessarily go into my phone straight away or anything like that, but my mind's active. I'm not as rested. Stress is way higher. And that was happening over these past 10 days. And what I came to realize was, it wasn't Amelia, it wasn't the relationship. It was because I was feeling so much scarcity within myself, not necessarily in the sense that I don't feel good enough and things like that, although there probably was some of that going on, more so in my energy. I felt so lacking in my energy. And because I felt so drained and so tired, because I'd been working 10 days straight, training for a triathlon, and then I've got stuff to do with the dogs and with Amelia and with family. There's been a lot going on by choice. I'm not moaning here. I've chosen this path. But, as a result, I then started to look at Amelia through the eyes and project onto her, when in reality it was all about me and the space I was operating at. And you'll remember, I voxed you, didn't I? A few days ago, I've been like, do you know what, Doug? If we hit this, we hit it. If we don't, we don't. Fuck it. I'm not stressing out about this. I've surrendered to it. I've relaxed, and whatever happens, we'll just adjust. We'll pivot. We'll go again. I'm not letting this control my life. It's not worth it. That's what I said to you. It's not worth it. Not worth my health. It's not worth my stress. It really fucking isn't. And then what I did in terms of, what I said a moment ago about running towards these things, I told Amelia. I was like, I went up to her and I said, look, I want to apologize. She's like, why? Like, because I've been quite stressed over these past 10 days and I don't feel like I've been very nice to you. She's like, you've not been nice to me at all. I thought, that's a bit heavy. I don't agree with it. I wouldn't go that far. I just brought little things like going and getting I was at a favourite coffee shop and I took her a smoothie back without her asking for it. All sorts of little things I'd been doing. But, sometimes, this is sometimes my reluctance to own up to things to Amelia, because sometimes when I do, she'll be like, oh yeah, this is my opening. Boom. Or at least that's what it seems to me. So anyway.
And every man listening to this, by the way.
Yeah. So, I just apologized to her. I said, look, I'm sorry. And she said, yeah, you have been. I said, okay, what have I been like? And she's like, you've not showed interest. You've been really distant. You've not done this. You've not done that. And I was just, I just hugged her and kissed her and sat with her and I was, and explained what was going on and explained, I just let her into my life and I told her exactly what was going on and why I was acting that way. And I was choosing to do something different. But the point is, in that moment, in terms of running towards what scared me, it would have been it'd been easier for me to not have the conversation with Amelia. It would have been easy for me to just go back to her and just, be all loving or be all whatever. And it probably wouldn't have been forgotten about. It probably would have surfaced in some other way at some other point. But, I felt guilt, to be honest, at first. It's okay to feel guilt. Some of us, no labels. I felt guilt about those dreams and I was thinking about these other women. I thought, fucking hell. Wherever I go, I'm going to take myself with me. Whatever relationship I go into, I'm going to take myself with me. So it's not Amelia. I didn't necessarily tell her about the dreams and the women because I just didn't think that it was relevant. And I thought it might have been misinterpreted in some way because, she's an amazing woman. But anyway, yeah, running towards what scares me, it was just it was so freeing. So in terms of being too fragile, really the fragility comes from the fear, like you said, that fear of being seen and being judged and not feeling like we've got the capacity, the energy to be able to handle it. So instead, we just want to hide and lie and run away and avoid what's going on.
Hey guys, I had to interrupt this show because I want to talk to you about a case study we put together. It's only 11 minutes, and what we do is we go over and show you how almost 300 men have taken control of their life, have already 4x'd their business revenue, and are having more connected and intimate sex with their partner using the activation method. Now, they're doing all this without burning down their relationships and without suffering and sacrificing their health. We want you to have this too, so go over to thepowerfulman.com/11, the number 11, 11, and get this right now. It's only 11 minutes, and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
What scares me the most here in this, in hearing you say that story, is one of the things I responded with that I didn't share earlier. As I said, the most powerful men that I know, the guys that, are actually really strong, and really powerful, run towards their fears. As soon as they fear something, they've created a habit of going towards it. Not physical fear necessarily, but any emotional fear. And I said that, they're like the Indiana Jones of their inner game, always discovering and going through, and finding the treasures. They look at this fear as a treasure and as a lesson. So a great analogy, great point there, Tim. And it scares me a little bit that I brought that up, which is obviously means I was talking about you.
So I've got a question for you.
Yep.
So when was the last time you ran towards your inner fear?
Great question. Gosh, trying to think about it. It's become like you. It's become such a habit for me that as soon as something scares me or worries me, I bring it up right away. I recognize that trigger of fear, so to speak, coming in toward me. It's an emotional trigger, and then I step into it and do it right away. And I think, probably the last time was this conversation with this guy. Really good guy, respect him a lot. I was worried that if I was too frank with him, that he wasn't going to be able to take it. And so as soon as I was worried, again, fear, right? Fear and worry are very similar. That's when I knew I had to be very frank and honest with him and tell him, look, here's the deal. And what I told him was, I'm just going to be blunt with you and honest with you because I would respect that you would do the same with me. You need to master your inner game because right now you're lacking in that department, and that is going to control and run with everything. So that was probably the last time that I went through it. A small fear, but again, something that I just try to recognize as soon as possible and then go towards it.
For me, it took 10 days, doesn't it? It took 10 days for me to realize, about 10 days anyway. I was ignoring the signs for quite a while, to be honest. I could feel my energy changing. I could feel my stress levels going up. There's always symptoms, isn't there? For me, it's stress levels go up, sleep gets worse. I feel like I'm trying to spin a load of plates. I feel like I'm trying to keep a load of things up. So I start to feel overwhelmed. And then I start to do things that I don't want to do. So I start to people please as well. Like commitments that because I'm coming from a place of I feel more drained and worn out. I don't have the strength to honor my no, So I say yes to things when really they're a no. So then it just spreads me even further. So, for you, it's great that you were able to catch it, quicker. For me, it took a little bit longer. And, I think that's a really important point because for some people, and I know this is true of a lot of the guys we have coached in the Powerful Man and do coach, that lag time can sometimes turn into judgment. And it's like, well, why didn't I catch it sooner? And, oh, fuck, I should have done this. And what about that? And I've lost out on this. And, just chill. You've caught it, now you can change. There's no point living in the past. There's no point beating yourself up because, again, all that does, in my opinion, what's happening there is that they're buying into the labels, aren't they? This is good or this is bad. Well, why does anything have to be good or bad?
Yes.
Why can it not just be what it is? It's such a key point. And just, the conversation I had with one of the guys in the circle yesterday. So he basically jumped on the call and he was, he looked really deflated. He was quite upset. He was like, oh, I'm supposed to be going out to see Michael McIntyre tonight and for dinner with my girlfriend. But it now looks like we're going to have showdown talks at dinner. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? It's like, well, the shit has hit the fan again. And they've had various arguments in the past, but they've worked through all of them because his ex is quite manipulative to his current girlfriend and does certain things and says certain things. So she now has blocked his ex on Facebook to try and focus on herself and on the relationship without being triggered. So anyway, what happened was this person wanted to go swimming. He said, it was Sunday and I wanted to go swimming, get my training for the triathlon. So I asked, I'm just going to call her Sarah. So I asked Sarah if she could sort the FaceTime out for the kids. They could FaceTime the mum while I went swimming. Perfect time. The kids are going to be in bed. Laura's just there. No one's doing anything. So I'll go swimming. Perfect. I thought it was going to be, no problem. And then Sarah said, well, you do know that I've blocked, I'm going to call her Jean. You do know that I've blocked Jean on Facebook, right? And he's like, yeah, it's okay. Just unblock her. So Sarah's like, okay. Right. So anyway, one thing led to another. And obviously there were words that went back and forth. Then this guy turned around and said to Sarah, fucking hell, you're just so full of bullshit. Because obviously there was some resistance and for him, this has been something that had been going on previous. But, at the same time, Sarah's trying to figure it out by blocking her and do her own thing. So anyway, one thing led to another, and what it turned out was as I was speaking to him, I said, look, first of all, I get how important it is for you to let the kids FaceTime their mum. I get it. If the shoe was on the other foot, you'd want the same. So I get that. At the same time, I don't really think it's fair that you ask Sarah to unblock Jean so she could then go on FaceTime. That's not her responsibility. It's yours at the end of the day. It's your responsibility. You made the commitment, so you get to own that.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly, why is it that you're trying to cram your swimming in lasting in the week on an evening? And he's like, well, I've just had a busy week. I'm like, yeah, but you've worked so hard in your company for the past 10 years, building your company. You really ought to have the space within your schedule and your energy to be able to work out when you want for the triathlon, instead of it creating loads of stress in your life. And you can see him, the cogs start going then. Anyway, the outcome of the conversation was, it wasn't a problem in his relationship at all. It was an opportunity in his leadership to, lead his company and not be doing everything, not trying to be different roles, different people, just staying in his zone, not leaking energy all over the place. And as a result, he would be able to work out at the times that he wants instead of feeling so stretched and feeling fragile. And as a result, then reacting in the way he was. He said his own words, if he didn't feel so stretched and so burnt out and exhausted, then he feels like his reaction would have been very different. But because he feels that way, he feels fragile. And at the same time, because he's not running towards his fears, I mean, he does, he's an amazing entrepreneur, but, there's some things that he's not running towards within his leadership and within the company. What that means is he's paying the price outside of it in his relationship. And it's just so simple. There's just so many parallels between all these conversations, isn't there, Doug? What you went through, what I went through, what the guy you were speaking to experienced, what the guy I was speaking to experienced. There's so many threads. It all links in. It's so fascinating to see how we often feel like we're alone on an island, wearing this mask of perfection, putting it out there on social media. But in reality, when we actually have these conversations that are real and we talk about real stuff, that what's really going on behind the scenes, and we actually understand that, oh, wow, yeah, there's other guys experiencing something similar and it's okay to talk about it. Well, fuck, I'm going to talk about it instead of letting the guilt and the shame weigh me down.
Oh, it's so true. And that's what's so great about the activation method and getting the guys into groups or for retreats that we put on is, these guys are all coming in there as high performers and everybody's nervous, right? Stepping into that realm. And then to have them look around, even despite everybody's story being so different, the things that we face as men have so many parallels. And they're not things to be ashamed of. It's actually stepping into that fear, like you talk about. Stepping into that fear, to me, is what being a man is all about. And being able to do that. And instead of just talk, I don't talk about my feelings. Well, that is scarcity. That's really, you're just afraid. You're afraid of what people are going to think about you. You're afraid of what's going to come out of your mouth. There's that fear, right? That's deep down. If men listening to this are really being honest with themselves, the reason you don't talk about things is you're afraid. You're afraid of what other people are going to think or what's going to come out or some societal norms. And so that's why I love getting those men together and seeing what's happening and what comes out of that and allowing them to be the mirror and reflect back for the other men as well.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the relationship piece as well, because I always think that it's such a big thread. It's something that always comes up, isn't it? It always rears its head. Whether we think it's a problem with business, it turns out to be something behind the scenes that is really kind of causing the stress usually. But yeah, when you're able to actually take ownership and be vulnerable and run towards your fears, wow, the woman in your life, talk about, improving your sex life. there's only one reaction that she's usually going to have as she sees you running towards your fears and being vulnerable and doing so with pride and honor and standing tall. There's only usually one outcome there, isn't there?
Absolutely, man. And it's a great outcome.
Yeah, it can be. It can be for sure.
Well, Tim, I know that you and I can, and we probably will talk about this for hours. But that's a wrap for this show. And guys and gals, we'll be back with another episode coming up of The Powerful Man as well. So Tim, as always, thank you for sharing your wisdom and imparting it on the world. What you're doing is amazing, man.
Oh, likewise. Likewise. You co-host this. You're in there in the business with me. You, total mirror back to you in and out of the business. You're an amazing father, entrepreneur, husband, man. So it's an honor, man, every time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys, we will see you next episode.